I love watching people get red pilled, especially when they're more melanated, like this guy. Take a look.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
You spent over $574 million on illegal immigrants here in Chicago, Illinois since 2022. Now, you still feel like you have to harbor these illegals, which is not a good idea. And in my personal opinion, I don't think it's a good idea to challenge Tom Homan on this because he's trying to clean up our cities, Mr. Brandon Johnson. Now, let me just remind everybody here that Brandon Johnson is terrible with the budget. How is this $40 million credit line is going to work exactly? Because the key word is credit. So how much will we be using from this $40 million? And the real question is, how much will we be paying back? Now, you want to sit here, you and JB Prisker want to puff out your chest and fight Tom Homan. We need Tom Homan here in Chicago. We need Donald Trump. And I don't want to see people like Pam Bundy and Cash Patel, haul you up out of here and become prosecuted. I don't want to see that happen. But they will do their job if they have to, Brandon Johnson. Now, we are $1 billion in debt. That's absolutely insane. Kamala Harris, she spent $1 billion on her campaign less than a year, and she's $20 million in debt. So it's looking like Democrats are bad with money. Now, you ignored me for 10 to 15 seconds last time I was speaking, and I really did not appreciate that at all. But I got a Christmas present for you. Let's remind the people of Chicago that Brandon Johnson spent $32,000 in campaign funds on haircuts and makeup. So I got an early Christmas present for you, Brandon Johnson. This is some makeup for you right here. You got some rouge. You got the makeup brush right there. So you can save this people some money, for crying out loud. Now, let me tell you people, I'm going to be serious here. We need to start voting different in these cities like New York and Chicago. Stop voting these people in. It's not Democrat versus Republican anymore. It is populist versus establishment. It is the populist versus the establishment. Stop letting them trick you into the race baiting when it comes to Brandon Johnson. Oh, black people need help too. Trump want to hurt black people. What are you talking about? We're legal here. We are legal.
I love it. Welcome to the other side of the matrix. Welcome. I like the energy. I like the passion, and I like the things that he called out. That we need to vote differently is what he's saying in his area of Chicago, because there are quite a few major cities across the nation. In fact, it seems like almost all of the major cities across the U.S. are Democrat run, and blacks consistently vote that way, and things are not getting better. The men are starting to notice this, which is why in the last election, 24% of black men voted for Donald Trump. 24%, which is nice, because it was lonely for me a long time. I still don't have in my circle of influence one other black person that I know in real life, personally. I see them online. There's Brandon Tatum, there's Byron Donalds, there's Larry Elder. There are these people, but I don't know them personally. And I don't know anyone in my personal life who thinks the way that I do, who's also more melanated. Black men are recognizing, hey, we want to have families. We don't want to be in our mid to late 50s before we can afford a house and feel like we can afford to raise a family. So our votes don't seem to be leading to the fruits that we want. And I'm glad they're noticing this, particularly in Chicago. He called out the hairdressing and the rouge, the makeup for that mayor. And you may remember this previous mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot. I actually tried to use a decent picture of her because, there are quite a few other shots of her where people like to refer to her by her unofficial nickname of Beetlejuice. But she, during the pandemic, was one of the folks enforcing these lockdowns and saying that she would actually arrest people who were violating curfew, grown people violating curfew, that they would seek these folks out and prosecute them. Yet she violated the lockdowns and got her hair cut. Her excuse was, when she was busted, her excuse was, I'm a public figure and I need to maintain my appearance, and so that's why she did it. Same thing with Nancy Pelosi. She goes to a hairdresser when nobody else can, and they're our betters. They know better than us, and that's why, do as I say, not as I do type thing. And it's offensive to folks. And these folks are finding it offensive that apparently the party they've been giving their loyal vote to for decades cares more about the illegal alien than they do about them, the Black American citizen. Welcome to the party. Welcome to the other side of the matrix. Now, who seems to still be stuck in the matrix, though, seems to be Black women. And 90% of them voted for Harris. If you want to vote for Harris, that's fine. But 90%? When you look at Asian men and Asian women, they're not voting 90% one way or the other. You look at white men and women, not 90% one way or the other. Hispanic men and women, Jewish men and women, nobody's voting 90% one way or the other. Their vote is divided. It's 50-50, 60-40, 70-30. And so when these politicians come to their groups and speak, they actually have to talk about the issues because they can't predict exactly how they're going to vote. That's one benefit. The other benefit is, I guess that's the biggest benefit. You keep the politicians on their toes. They have to come to you with some good ideas. So when you see this, look at these numbers. 90% Black women for Harris. The fellas are getting it, 24%. Perhaps the fellas as leaders in their communities will get some of the ladies to come to their side. All I can think is if 90% of Black women are voting this way, then either they know something that everybody else missed, or they're missing something that everybody else knows. I hope they figure out which way it is, because you look at the results. The schools aren't what they want them to be. Crime is not what they want it to be. They're not getting what they want, and yet they keep giving this vote up to people who are not delivering. They just keep promising, we're going to deliver. I guess the fellows recognize, hey, I shared the same skin tone with Barack Obama, and that didn't work out. I'm not going to vote just on skin tone. Barack Obama went from yes, we can to why we didn't. But I guess with the ladies, still, they share the same skin tone. They share the same genitalia. And I guess all it takes is a pink dress showing up in a church and saying, weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. That it takes more than that to get my vote. And I'm glad some of the fellows are coming to the other side of the matrix. I'd like to meet some of them in person, because I'm sure not related to any of them. Now, I'm related to people who had no problem at all with this particular commercial. Watch this.
During the pandemic, my lifestyle drastically changed. My income came to a screeching halt. You have to understand, I'm a hustler. I'm a legit entrepreneur. I sell things. I come in contact with people all the time. I have to stay safe. I didn't have a choice but to trust the vaccine. Because if you live the type of lifestyle that I live, you out here in these streets and you hustling, an entrepreneur like me, why not do it safely? So I want everybody to take this seriously. Take a shot at staying healthy. Get the vaccine.
I had a big problem with that commercial when I saw it online. Like, the state health department in Arkansas, they checked off on this particular commercial. Why isn't the NAACP looking at this? And I found out yesterday, doing some more research, that it was actually a black marketing company that came up with that commercial. Still, the state health department signed off on it, but what else could they do when they have a black marketing company saying, this is the product you believe is going to help reach black people in Arkansas, and you're black too? Well, the marketing company just is totally tone deaf, that they couldn't see that people thought that this guy was a drug dealer. Apparently in real life, he's not. He has a different kind of business where I think he sells clothes. But nevertheless, he's coming with that energy, that vibe that, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm out in these streets hustling. I sell things. So the level of thinking needs to be elevated. Start looking at real issues. My father kind of laughed when I told him a gal that I was dating that I eventually married in early 2013. If I had found out that she voted for Obama, I was going to dump her. We met each other in 2011. I knew she voted for him in 2008 before I ever met her, before I knew her. So she's entitled to that one mistake. But after knowing me for about a year, if she's still going to vote for him, I was going to have a big problem with that. My dad thinks, oh, it's just politics. No, no, no. Here's the reason why it was a problem for me. When I vote, I'm looking at roughly 8 things: life, marriage, the definition of it, courts, how we're choosing our judges, federal level judges and justices at the Supreme Court. So life, marriage, courts, defense, national defense, meaning the military, and personal defense, meaning the Second Amendment. So life, marriage, the courts, defense, taxation, education, immigration, and energy independence. When you have that lined up with Barack Obama, he and I are on different sides of the aisle on all 8 of those issues. I'm trying to be a positive agent for change. Why would I want to marry somebody who's just going to cancel out my vote? We're not even unified in the home. If I can't be unified in the home, how am I going to be an agent for change positively outside of the home? So I'm not going to recruit somebody like that into my life. That's why I had a problem with it. And those same 8 things go for Biden, for Harris, for Clinton. It went for Bush too. And in cases with him, it was just the lesser of 2 evils. It went that way it went that way for Trump in 2016. I didn't know how he was really going to execute. And he executed better than I anticipated. I didn't like his campaign at all. I didn't like it. But he executed better than I anticipated. Nevertheless, the first little 2 minutes there with the person apparently at City Council giving the City Council and the mayor what for, I'm glad to see that. I'm looking forward to meeting people like that in real life. I want some more brothers around me. For now, it's brothers of different skin shades. I like to have some of the same skin shade too, because want the conversations at the barber shops, at the sports bar, at the cookout to be a little bit different than they have been for most of my adult life. I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.